Brian, today I wanted to talk about I kind of call it the because I said so mindset. And, we've talked about strong willed children, we've talked about strong willed people, and we've also talked about the fact that many times a strong willed child has inherited those tendencies from their strong willed parent. And so I wanted to talk today just about when, as a parent, to know whether it's something that it's definitely, I said so and this is how it needs to be. And when it's, there can be some flexibility in this interaction because as a strong-willed person, it's very hard when you want something to be a certain way to not fall in that because I said so and this is the way it's going to be, and to be able to just allow that flexibility of thought that, okay, I said so because I want it to be this way, but let me stop and think a minute, can it maybe be a different way? So what do you think about that?
Such a hard question. We saved the best, hardest question for last. When do we kind of hold up tight to the control? When do we let go? It's a tough question. So, a couple of thoughts on it. First, with this question, first, it's very dependent on the situation, right? If I'm dealing with a 2-year-old is different than if I'm dealing with a 12-year-old, different if I'm dealing with a 22-year-old. It's very contextualized. The truth is, sometimes we need to let our kids experience the pain of their own failure and of their own bad choices. But I ask myself first, when I'm trying to say, okay, do I keep control? Do I let them take some control? I first ask the question, is it going to be safe? If I let this child take some control, are they going to be safe? For example, you hold the hand of the 4-year-old when you're crossing the street because you don't want them to let loose and run across the street. That's a safety issue, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But there are other times when it comes to decisions, I have to step back as much as it pains me as a parent. And I just have to say, you know what? He's going to have to experience the pain of his own bad decision. Could be related to schoolwork, for example, right? I'm doing everything I can to support this child, to support my daughter in getting all of her schoolwork done, but she refuses to do it. She's going to have to experience the pain of failing that class. As much as I want to sit down and make her do her work, it's so painful. And as we talked before, is our children are reflections of us. And we've all really struggled with this. Is academically, I tend to excel. And if I have a child who isn't excelling, then it looks like it's a reflection on me, and it really might not be a reflection on you. I mentioned this earlier as well. If I'd had perfect kids, I'd have no empathy. The truth is, I don't judge people for the behavior of their kids because we can't really control anyone else other than ourselves. That leads into a really good question. When do we maintain control? When do we let control go? I have to be a little bit honest with myself and ask this question. Am I maintaining control of myself? Because kids are going to learn self-control by watching their families, aren't they? So if as a parent, I'm always ticked off and throwing things in the house because of something that happens, or if I'm using all kinds of foul language when I'm driving because someone is too slow in front of me, or any of these other things, we all have moments where we lose it, but on a consistent basis, am I showing self-control? Because truth is, I can't lead anyone else to a place I've never been before. As a parent, I'm a bit like a tour guide. If you decide you want to take vacation and you go someplace and you sign up for a tour guide, you want to make sure that tour guide knows exactly where you're going because they've been there and done that a ton of times before. I'm not going to sign up for a tour guide who's never been there before. As a parent, I have to say, I'm the tour guide. I have to make sure I'm maintaining my own self control. The last thing I would kind of throw in there as to when we might let go of control and kind of let them experience. I ask myself questions. Is that fight worth fighting? My wife and I decided early on there's a couple things we weren't going to fight with our kids about. One of them was their hair. My oldest son, at one point, he was a teenager. I gave him money, sent him into Great Clips to get his haircut. I waited in the car. He came out with a mohawk. And I said, cool, let me take a picture and show it to grandma. I wasn't going to fight with him. Would it have been my choice that he come out with a mohawk? No, but actually kind of looked pretty good on him. He kind of rocked it really
Yeah.
well. But we decided, you know what? I'm not going to worry. I'm not going to fight with them about their hairstyle because hairstyle is not a morality issue. Another thing we decided we're not going to fight with our kids on is going to church. It's important that we go to church as a family, but I wasn't going to fight with my teenager if they refuse to go to church, because forcing them into that, it might have more negative outcomes down the road. Is that battle worth fighting? I ask myself that question. And then I say, I've always got to maintain my sense of self-control because they're going to learn it from me.
Oh my, that is such a complicated subject, and it takes a
It
lot
is.
of practice on our part
It is.
too. Actually, I think that's one of the ones where it's more the parent needs to be able to change their behavior than the child needs to change, because, like you say, you're kind of the tour guide, you're the leader, you're the example, you're the model, and as adults, it's not easy for us to change.
It's hard.
It
Yes.
takes a lot of time and a lot of practice, and just that's one of the times where you need to pull out that persistence of your personality, that you're going to keep trying and know that it's going to be hard and that change doesn't come easy. So,
Yeah, maybe I'll add one more piece to the puzzle because it just dawned on me, and that's the importance of forgiveness for both yourself and to your kid, right? When we mess up and when we get past that conflict and past the stress, you go to your kid and say, you know what? I still love you. I forgive you. We're going to get past. And one of the most powerful things we do as parents is to ask forgiveness for our kids, because the truth is sometimes we screw up and we screw up badly. We make mistakes in the words we use, maybe it's physically something we do, and we have to sit down. It's a very humbling position to be in. But when I can sit down next to my son and say, not my best moment, I apologize, and I ask for forgiveness from my kid, that's setting up a wonderful foundation that it's okay to ask for forgiveness, okay to admit weakness and admit fault, and forgiveness that comes along with it. When they can learn that from their parents, they're set up to be much better adults.
I think so too. And I also think that it helps them to have a better understanding of the world, that just because you're an adult doesn't mean all of a sudden that you do
Yes,
everything perfectly right. And I do think that it also deepens your relationship with your kids, that
yes,
they know that you also make mistakes and that you're able to say, yeah, I made a mistake. I
I
didn't do
made a
that
mistake.
quite the way
Yeah.
I wanted to do it. So
Please forgive me is a powerful question. Yeah.
it is. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you again, Bryan, for our chats. As always, I really enjoy getting to talk with you and hear your perspective on things. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's been my pleasure.